Okay, and would one of you ladies be willing to gavel us into order?
Actually, why don't we do this? Let's record. Tell us when the recording starts, Beth. You're on. Okay, so at this point, we're going to call our meeting to order, and calling our meeting to order, our chair is running a little bit behind. We don't or have not selected a vice chair for the purposes of this council. So in doing so, is there anybody who'd be willing to chair the meeting until Dr. Zieser arrives?
I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay, and Dr. Roberts, is there any objection to Dr. Roberts serving as vice chair? And then at some point, we're going to put it on the agenda so that we can decide formally to elect a vice chair. But at this point, Madam Vice Chair, we'll let you take over the meeting.
Thank you very much, and I do defer to the brilliance in the group as I stumble through. So I am to call to order.
We're called to order, and next is our invocation.
Okay, James Booth. Jamie, would you, City Manager, would you please lead the invocation?
Yes, ma'am. If y'all join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we just thank you for this evening. We thank you for the chance to come together and look at long-term perspectives for this city. Lord, I ask that you just continue to grant your blessings on this meeting, this city, this state, and this nation as we chart that course, Lord. We know that you give us many blessings here in Keystone Heights. We ask that you continue those this evening, Lord. Lord, we just pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
And the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. And I'll just start off that, as we stated earlier, Chairman Zieser is going to be running a little bit late tonight, but we'll expect to join us. Ms. Mullins.
Here.
Ms. Robbins.
Here.
And Ms. Banta.
Here.
All right. And Madam Chair, you have a forum.
So thank you, and we will proceed. We're going to go into the consent agenda with an approval of minutes, and I actually had a change to the minutes, and I worked with our office manager, Wendy Harris, to make that change. In the middle, I'll point to y'all, in the middle of the minutes for our previous meeting, it is number 9, page 2 of 3. Right in the middle of that paragraph says Dr. Robbins continues to believe that keeping a 50% residential, 50% commercial split would be best for the city. That actually was not what I said. It may be what I said. I'm not suggesting that Ms. Harris miswrote. But what the meaning of that was, we had yet to be provided with any evidence that something other than 50-50 would be a more appropriate percentage. So it was agreed, Ms. Harris and I agreed that would just be struck because it doesn't represent. So I asked with you guys, are there any other changes? Have you read the agenda? Are you going to, everything else is A-okay with you guys? I don't know if I'm leading this meeting quite as professionally as I could.
It would just be appropriate to see if there's a motion to approve as amended.
Thank you.
As amended.
I'll make a motion for that.
And I second, so we have a motion, we have a second, may we have a vote? Me too. All right, so we agree that we're going to accept the minutes as amended.
Now we just see if there's any, I think we're up to a public comment, Madam Chair. And we do not have any written comments, and I'm looking at looking in the thick crowd, and I'm not seeing anybody who's looking like they want to make any public comments. All right, so we'll clear that.
So, is there anything that we need to discuss before we begin the changes to the comprehensive plan?
Yes, ma'am. Real quick, I'd like to make one quick disclosure. This disclosure's been made in front of the City Council probably a little over a year ago, but it was made aware to me that not all the members of this board are aware that Ms. Janice Fleet has in the past represented, I'm going to forget the name, Mr. Joe Wiggins, or Wiggins Construction, I think would be an accurate business in the past. And the City Council was aware of that when we brought this Fleet on under contract. It was disclosed, but I want to disclose that again And when Ms. Fleet is operating on behalf of the city of Keystone Heights, she represents the city of Keystone Heights. And there's ethical requirements to make sure she's doing that. So we just wanted to restate that and make it clear to everyone.
Good. And there are biases that we all bring to the table, so we just need to be aware of that, and it's important that we're aware that we're working on land use, and those decisions that we make impact our city and the land use within our city. Okay, so let's get to the timeline. One thing that I'm just reveling in this role today. I'm sure that it's my one and only time that I get to be vice chair. But I would like for us to have discussion about the additions and deletions from the previous comprehensive plan. I've quite a few. I have a sufficient number that I opted for discussion rather than typing it all out and getting things lost. So I don't know when it's best to do that, but I'd like to, since we are in a public forum, we can work together now as we discuss what we believe to be the best route forward. So,
Madam Chair, what I recommend is we just open up the comprehensive planning workshop real quick.
okay.
That's all you gotta say is we're transitioning into the workshop.
Okay, we are transitioning into the workshop.
All right, and what I would do, I'll start off, and I think we can get to where you wanted to go. What I wanted to remind everybody, and I'll talk off the comprehensive planning timeline, the first kind of attachment that's on here is we are at the 20th of April meeting. The goal for this meeting, when we drafted this up, was to try and get at least halfway through the comprehensive planning elements. And then the last opportunity would be the 18th of May, the next meeting that we have, to get through the entire document, strike and adds, yes, underline and strike through version. And what that allows us to do is give a courtesy copy into the state and to meet our, the 29th of May grant to deliverable, which is submitting that draft document to the state. And so that's really kind of a scene setter of what the goal is for today. What we have set up is we've handed out a slide deck that looks like this. Ms. Fleet will take us through. She'll go into some more detail about the specifics of deliverable 2. What we propose going through is that with the comments that we received from the members already, Ms. Fleet did draft up some responses to cover in the slideshow to see if there's any questions on those. And then I would recommend, Madam Chair, once we've discussed those, since we had them and had some time to think through them, that might enlighten some of your comments or questions. And then if they're not, after we get out of the slideshow and talking with everybody's comments that we've had responses for, we can go into, if it's by paragraph, or some of those discussions and see where we are timing-wise.
Okay, good. One thing that I would like to do, if you will keep your comments brief, Madam Planner, because we don't have a lot of time this evening, and I don't want to spend the rest of the meeting asking you questions. Okay, so if you can just roll us through this 10 minutes, maybe, be ideal, something along those lines. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't even think it's gonna, is this on? Is it on?
It doesn't have a green light on it.
Yeah,
Janice.
it is, okay. I just want to remind the board and the council that I see here, and the mayor, that the comprehensive plan, the way that we actually adopt it, sometime probably, whatever, I think we have in August, transmittal, and even until we adopt it in November, when we get comments back, hopefully not many, from the state, it is what we call an attachment to the ordinance. So until that last ordinance, that last adoption in sometime in November, hopefully, if not December, we can make changes to any policy in it, any of the adopted maps. It's not whatever you decide now or next month or the council when they look at it in June and as they move forward, this is not like, oh God, we can't touch it again. This, the way that the comprehensive plan ordinance is written is so that, and I know Rich and I have worked together in other cities, that's how we do it. We do it as an attachment. So if at the last meeting there is some question, a change of a policy or an objective that the council, because they're the ones making the ultimate decision, wants to make, it can be done. And it doesn't change advertising, it doesn't change the ordinance, it doesn't change anything. So do not feel at any point in time in this process, and I tried to reiterate it, but I just want to remind you again, that we cannot make changes, but we have to move forward so that we can meet our grant deliverables, so we can move forward on this process. So that's all I just want to know. And also just about the ethical, I am, after my name, you see AICP, which is American Institute of Certified Planners. That is a registration that I have had to take a test for, and that I also have certain ethical responsibilities that I need to maintain in order to do that, and I've been this for my entire career since I could take the test. So it's very important. When I represent a town, I represent the town, you know, so just so you know, I'm just putting that on record. Okay, so first slide, just to kind of guess where we're at. We talked about, we're doing the comprehensive plan update, we've reorganized it. We have a grant that kind of made us go backward a little bit. I think some of the other board members weren't on here at the time, but we had to kind of make a little stop because we got the $60,000 grant from the state, and that's our driving right now because it's a state grant. It has to be spent by June 30th. If we do not spend by June 30th, we lose whatever money we could have had. So that's kind of a target on our back. So we received it. What we did is extend the grant deadlines and deliverable deadlines. Originally, it was going to be April, the current deliverable, which is deliverable 2. We would have had to have it by April 15th. We moved it to May 29th, and then the final one, which would have been like May 31st or the 29th, somewhere at the end of May, we moved it out to June 30th. So that's the dates that are reflected in the deadline, and we're moving it on, so we'll keep going. All right, next slide. Okay, so just to a recap of what we got, deliverable 1 is complete. We did get accepted by the state when we submitted to them, and so that once they submit it, then we can get reimbursement. We had to promote, it's an engagement plan to promote business and involvement in the comprehensive plan. We're having meetings, and I know Jamie's been going to a bunch of meetings and with residents with Keystone Heights. We've created an engagement plan. We created a website on the comprehensive plan on the Keystone Heights website. We have a Facebook page. We've surveyed, we sent notices out to the businesses, and we created an assessment report, which was kind of the first, I guess, the color report we did. But we sent all that to the state, and they accepted it and said, you completed deliverable 1, you can move on to 2. So that's where we're at now. Next slide.
Chance, you mind, I'm just going to, before I forget,
Yeah.
we have received one bit of feedback from our businesses on the survey. Got our first hard copy survey back a few days ago because we had it at a Business Coffee and Commerce on Monday night. In general, the business was happy with how the city was set up, but broadly, we was looking for recommendations on how the city can set up codes, zoning to be business friendly. The broad comment was just less regulation is better than more. That's pretty much it, but I wanted to give you the feedback as fresh as we got it. And I just haven't had a chance to hand that off to Janice yet.
Okay, great, I'm glad. Okay, next. So now we're on deliverable 2. And deliverable 2 is prepare a draft comprehensive plan in underline and strikeout format. And we have to remember, I know we've talked about it, that anything we do must be compliant with Senate Bill 180, which was passed in the 2025 legislative session. There was no fixes in the 2026 legislative session, and even though they have not completed a budget, they cannot deal with that bill. Actually, the fix was, there was a bill proposed by the House that was even more restrictive than Senate Bill 180. It didn't get anywhere because the Senate never had a bill to fix 180. So we were stuck with Senate Bill 180, which basically says you cannot have anything more restrictive in any of your comprehensive plan or land development regulations that you had in August of 2024. Going back.
I don't think it applies to LDRs, it just applies to comp plans.
Okay. Every attorney's different. I've heard different, but I will take that one for you. So that's good. Anyways, but our comp plan, which is what we're dealing with, you can't be more compliant. So the key is that the way we do our comprehensive plan, the way the state requires it, going back, every local government adopted a comprehensive plan back in the 90s, and then since then, after they found your comprehensive plan, Keystone Heights in compliance, when you submit them an amendment and they require you to look at it every 5 to 7 years, and we're in that time period, you have to submit it in an underline and strikeout format. If you do not send it that way, they're going to kick it back. So that's why it's very important. It gets confusing when you're going through it, and at the end, when everything gets, my goal is when we get this done, we will create a clean copy. If you pull up City of Jacksonville's today, you will see all this underlined and strikeout from God knows when. They don't always do a clean copy, so we will do that at the end. But that's very important because when we make these changes, it has to be done that way because that's how we send it to the state. Okay? All right, so I'm going to address, next slide, some of the general comments. You went the wrong way. That's okay. Some of the general comments that I have received and specific comments that I received. It makes it easier for me to get those comments so I can go back and look at statute, look at the code, etc. So I appreciate those that did send it to me. So one of the things is we are the level of service standard, which is a requirement of your comprehensive plan that you have it. We are not changing it. These are what were adopted in your previous comp plan. I assume it's probably from the original comp plan, and it has not we didn't change it. The only change we did is we did delete in the transportation element and the transportation level service for local roads. The statute requires you have to, if you're going to do level service, it requires you do it for your DOT roadways, which is 21 and 100. You do not have to do it for your, what we call the local roads, and not the what is not on your state highway system. So that's why we did that. There's a lot of, in order to maintain the information you need to determine your level of service standard, it would require the local government, the city, to maintain traffic counts, to do traffic analysis. Clay County doesn't do it except for their major roads also. I mean, any community. So if you look at their level of service, it's just for their state highway roads, which is required. And obviously in Clay County, some of the, I think like Henley roads, things like that, those are on the state highway system, even though you can technically consider them local roads, but those are so we have a level of service standards that are in the individual elements like recreation, your community facilities, traffic circulation, and then you kind of group them together in your capital improvements element. You have it both. It's kind of, you have to make sure they're the same, but then you have to, that's one place where you have to have the duplication. I know that came up, I think it's one of your comments. When staff reviews projects for future land use map amendments, rezonings, etc., any kind of development approval, we would look at the level of service standard to see if we're meeting it. We are lucky in Keystone that we are way below our level of service standard. We have a lot of parks, our roadways have capacity, you do your water sewer based on what you got, what your current usage is. We have CCUA, we are a small percentage of CCUA, they have capacity, so we're lucky. And I think in the planning world, when these comp plans were originally adopted in the 90s, there were a lot of communities that had problems with traffic, they had problems with some even water and sewer. Pretty much everybody has got to where they need to be so that we're not deficient. But the idea was that you want to make sure you have the capacity available when a development gets online. There's a word that was created in the state of Florida called concurrency, that the development is concurrent with the impacts they're going to create. So, and I think that's something positive that we've done. So as I said, we're pretty much, so your level of service standard for 2026 comprehensive plan, which is the one we're doing, is basically maintaining it. We don't say it was what it is in 20, because we don't change it. It was the one that was in 2012. So it's the one that you have, which we are not changing. It's the one that at least in 2012 was the same, 2011, when the last comprehensive plan was done.
And Janice, maybe just to clarify, Chairman Ziesser, in some of his feedback to us, that was a concern he had, and we'll try and catch him up when he gets here, was he wanted to make sure that the 2012 levels of service are carried forward into the, you know, what will be the 2046, or the current plan that we're drafting.
And they will be?
Yeah.
This is what I just heard?
Yeah, basically
Yeah.
the language is the same. The only significant change is that what Janice was saying was on the transportation one, that instead of for all roads in the city of Keystone Heights, we'll maintain the same standards that's in the 2012 for Highway 100 and Highway 21, which is required by state statute. So that's if you look at the only language change would be dropping off the subordinate roads in Keystone Heights, as Janice was saying, so we don't have to maintain traffic counts.
And it's kind of a catch-22. You adopted what we call level of service C, which is what the state uses, and that's what we're adopting. And I think I checked. I looked at the DOT's report for your roadways. It was in 2045, which is our planning. You're still a level of service C, based on their projections of the traffic that will be in this town on those roadways. And it's a calculation based on the width of the road, whether you're urban or rural, and the segments and all these various calculations they do, but their people come up with what they feel their annual report is. So we're good there, because I did actually look forward, and I went out to 2045, and you're still at C or below. So.
Janice used the term, you'll see throughout, staff capacity, or I forget exactly how you worded
Right.
it. But it just gets down to, you know, it's really, when you look at a lot of this kind of stuff, it's Bo and I, and, you know, whatever engineering firm we can hire on that would help us out and be willing to pay for it. And so it's that balancing act of what does the state say we gotta do? That's the stuff we're definitely trying to stick to. But then Janice, and we discussed most of these, which is, hey, there's some stuff that we just don't have staff capacity to do, and it probably doesn't matter, because, you know, Nightingale's gonna be Nightingale in 40 years, and it's probably not gonna have significantly more traffic on it, as an example. So let's not tell everybody in the city that we're gonna be maintaining traffic counts and watching it constantly, just because we're gonna spend a whole lot of money to do something that we can figure out is not gonna have a significant change for the city.
And the key is it's usually that your undeveloped property is where you got to worry about what the impact is. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot, unless we annex, we don't have a lot of undeveloped property that's currently. And even the part we have significantly isn't going to increase it. The problem you're going to have is State Road 21 or 100 is not what, I think more 100 than probably 21 it's not what you do, it's what Clay County does. You know, that's going to cause an impact here. So, anyways. All right, and my last slide here. Next slide. Okay, so here's also, and I think these are a lot of Commissioner, Board Member Banta. Okay, so she caught a couple things that, and I appreciate, because I know you read it, which makes me feel good that my work isn't good for not. We need to add a number 12L11, and we need to add the word ensure. That's a good recommendation. We will do that. It's done. And you asked about the impervious surface ratio from previous plan. I have no idea. I did not change it. So it is, you know, so it wasn't a change, and I did not write the previous plan. So, you know, that's where it is. I can't tell you why.
Okay.
I just
Did it have, just curious, what was the number?
there was a place that was 30 and there was a place that was 40.
Yeah.
So we kept to the 40, I think, or the we kept to the 40, which is then the 30, because that was a conflict between the plan anyways, that there was two numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, you asked if there was another, and I can't believe I did this with all our discussion, but it related to the mixed use. There was a cut and paste. I left in the 50% that I think the board decided needs to be removed. I know not everybody agrees, but I think that was in, so that policy L141 and C was basically a typo. We have to take out that 50%, but the rest of it should stay like it is. I could, if you want me to read it into the record the way it will be, I can do that. Give me 1 second. The part
the sentence on page 8 says,
Yeah.
a maximum mix of commercial to residential land area within any block shall be no more than 50% commercial to residential use.
And that basically needs to come out. It should say, downtown mixed use, that basically from the part that mixed use to the end of that sentence, that was just a cut paste. That needs to come out, that'll come out. Because I've already mentioned net use of the first in B, and then the downtown ends with ratio is 0.80. So that,
So-
the rest of that sentence will come out.
To restate that, the two sentences starting with the mixed use
Yes.
is a strike.
Yes, correct. On that, again, I appreciate it. The other question, it seemed like an objective on policies was the same, again, they were in the previous plan, but every objective has to have a policy, but even if it restates the policy, it's just what's required by the comp plan statute, or what we've been doing since we adopted the comp plan statute. There was a question about the recycling program, which we were deleting, because the county deleted it. Really, that's up to this board, which way they wanna go, because I just did it because I happened to have had to sit behind the discussion that the county had when they were deciding not to maintain recycling. So since your solid waste is through the county, staff made the recommendation to delete it, but that it really is up to you. If the board wants to look at it a different way, that's up to them. So that.
So maybe that's something we can discuss after the presentation.
Okay. And there was a question on C6 with increasing the buffer, and I would think that increasing that would be unfortunately a more restrictive. I know that's what St. Johns County lost their whole comp plan because it was more restrictive. I think they just went from May to shall or something.
No, they went from 5% to 10%.
Yeah, whatever, but the whole comp plan was thrown out, which, whatever, instead of policy. That's, so that's why I will keep it where it's at. I mean, though I agree with you, but, I mean, I don't want all our efforts to go to naught. And the last comment was there was a duplicate policy, and I think we can eliminate in the intergovernmental coordination, I-824.
What page is I-824, please?
I will tell you.
See if I can find
Is it 51? Thank you.
it. Yep. Very bottom of page 51, the last paragraph.
And the other thing, I don't remember if it was the last meeting, the meeting before, which I didn't put up there, but,
Hold on one second. So I think we do already show that one, I-824, as staff recommended for elimination. Is that what we're?
yeah, I
Okay.
think, yeah.
So the comment asked that it be put back in?
No, the comment was that it was duplicate.
Oh, okay.
So, right, that was the comment, yeah.
So it's probably struck because
Right,
the duplicate
right,
is someone
right,
else.
Right, so that one's done, we eliminated that, so. The other comment I think that we've discussed at some point which was not touched, is the public school facilities element. That is, I did double check with the county, and the county has maintained it, and therefore we need to maintain it because we have schools in the city limits, so. It's kind of ridiculous because we don't implement it, the school board does it, but it goes back, prior to 2011. In 2011, there was a lot of changes, and the only thing I can figure is your comp plan was adopted before that new legislation was adopted, which made major changes to the comprehensive plan legislation from the original, is the best way of saying it. And one of the things that it said is you can take that from requiring a public school facilities element, you can elect to delete it, but it was up to each individual county to decide what they want to do, and Clay County decided we want to keep our school concurrency to maintain the school impact fees and everything else related to it. So that's just for the record. We're not making any changes, but we don't really have a choice in that one, is the best way of saying it. So, and that's pretty much my comments. So if you've got questions, comments?
Ms. Vander, did you have any questions based on Janice's feedback?
She covered it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Ms.
time.
Mullin,
Oh, I'm good.
you satisfied? Okay, so, in our, thank you very much.
Okay, well,
And there,
this way I've got a mic in case you have any questions, so,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
So, we're gonna have a conversation, discussion, and as a board, we're gonna work together, I hope, and we're gonna make some decisions. The easy thing is there are three of us, so there's, we're gonna have a majority often, okay? So let's begin with the recycling, since that was just discussed moments ago. Where was that in the comprehensive plan, please?
It's in the community facilities element.
Page number, please.
I know, I've gotta find it. It is on page 31.
Thank you.
And the policy that is staff recommended to delete is the city will participate in the county's recycling program to reduce the solid waste stream.
Right, 4.3.3. County doesn't have a recycling program.
Correct.
So, where are we on that? I'll say personally, when I moved into town, one of the things that I was thrilled with was that we had a recycling program. And, that's just a comment that I'm making. It seems as if it might be quite a commitment on the part of the city, if the city decides to pick up recycling, since the county doesn't have recycling. What do y'all think? Let's have some discussion, please.
Yeah, I was bummed to see that we didn't have one, but I mean, if the county is going to be the ones controlling it, I'm not sure what kind of.
I don't think it should be on the city to be burdened with that if the county doesn't care at their level. I mean, ideally, yes, it would be fantastic
Right.
if that could be implemented everywhere.
Right.
But with just cost cutting, I would imagine, and things like that everywhere in every facet of our world today, is just not going to happen. So I don't think that we should burden ourselves.
Okay, okay. So if we remove this from our comprehensive plan and we're in this SB 180 zone for the next however many years, and we decide that we as a city want to pick up recycling, is that more burdensome? Is that gonna be bumped?
Now, the city can decide by policy if they wanna have recycling, but it's just, this is in the comprehensive plan. It's not to say that everything has to be in the comprehensive plan.
So the city could choose to have recycling even if we don't even mention it.
Yes.
So that could,
Yes.
okay, all right, so we're still
over time we
open.
could
I
do
like
it.
that,
Yeah.
other than like, committing the city to having a recycling plan when they're in, I would expect quite expensive. Okay, so that's something
It's
maybe,
really, it's not as much the expense.
I can't hear you.
It's not as much the expense, it's that counties and municipalities around the state of Florida have run into the fact that there's less and less people that are willing to take the recycling. So what a number of counties have learned is even despite what contracts are with the haulers, they're finding that recycling was just being taken to the landfill.
Okay,
So because of that, they stopped wanting to pay for it.
yeah, so it's like open, unveil our eyes, okay, all right. Okay, and then what about the school board stuff that you mentioned, where is that, what page is that, please?
It's a whole element at the end. It starts on page 63. We didn't do anything to it. It wasn't, we didn't touch it, but there was a question that came up at some meeting and I wanted to give you the information I had found out to make sure we had to maintain it.
So, did any of us put input comments on the school
No, ma'am.
facilities?
No.
No?
I think it was a discussion that I was having with Janice on, hey, we don't control it, do we need to keep it in here? I think there was an internal staff discussion.
And I think months ago, we learned that the verbiage comes from the county, from the school board, right? This is not this is not even our wording.
When it was originally developed, because I was the consultant for Green Coast Springs at the time this was originally developed, it was a joint group together and we all had to have the same words. So yes, I guess you could say. So everybody had to adopt Green Coast Springs, Orange Park, the county, and Keystone all had to adopt the exact same element.
Okay, thank you. Any specific something you guys would like to talk about before I get started on my notes? All right, Mike, the city attorney discussed with us, the difference between the use of will and the use of shall, in the document, in a document of this type?
Sure, what's your question?
What's the difference in the meaning? Does something commit the city to having to do, and if I have a shall, does that mean the city is obligated to do whatever it is that follows the word shall?
So these are, your comp plan is divided into, and I think we started with this a couple of months ago, goals, policies, and objectives. So when you view it from a vision standpoint, even though it says shall, the shall as a function is directing your land development code to comply with your comprehensive plan.
How about will?
Same thing.
Do shall and will mean the same thing? Or can we actually, in this discussion, agree that shall and will mean the same thing? And then we can use one as opposed to two, because in other documents, I know that shall and will mean very different things. Often shall is an obligation, a requirement, and will is sort of like a promise, or I know it doesn't even sound intuitive, but it's true. Yes.
Going back to comp plans when they originally started, we had to take mays out, and it had to be shall or will. So shall or will mean the same in the comp plan, and I would not, my personal recommendation is they do mean the same, and I do not, they don't have, the mays are, you don't have to, and many of us planners spent a lot of time having to get rid of mays to make it shall or will. So I don't think it's worth making all those changes. I mean, that's because they basically, as your attorney says, mean the same thing.
Okay.
And for me, I would have to look at the context within the sentence to tell you whether or not I thought it was the same or not.
Well, I'm looking at the goal, LU1, the city will manage growth and development to ensure health, safety, and welfare of its residents and visitors, and foster a balanced, natural, physical, social, and economic environment. The city will do that. The city will review, I'm looking at the objective, all development plans to ensure the proposed intensity and density doesn't exceed the ability of the land to support the proposed use. And then we go through, the city will review this, LU1.1.1. The city will review all. Then we go to the next goal. I don't see the next goal.
There is only one, I think there's only one goal in the land use element.
Okay, all right.
They're all subordinate to it. All the twos and threes are subordinate to it.
Okay, all
Correct,
right,
that's
so
why,
we're all set.
that's why you have, the way that the number, and like I said, I didn't do this comp plan, I just I'm reviewing it for updates, but just consistency of comp plans across the state and the other comprehensive plans I did. Your goal is like LU1.
This is fine, I understand.
Okay, and
You guys
LU
understand the
objective is
structure.
1-1 or 1-2 or whatever, and then
And-
your policy is L1-1-1.
Okay, thank you, and I understand that, and the subordinates, I understand that. This is our comp plan, and this is the one we are working on, this comp.
Yeah,
And the city
for
is
sure.
going to adopt this, so that's important, that, if we, the board, are satisfied that we can interchange shalls and wills, we can do that. In my world, that doesn't happen, but this is a new world for me, this is a new culture for me, and I'm happy to adopt that. If the board agrees that we will accept shalls and wills, I shudder, but if the board, I'm glad there are three of us, not an even number, but if the board wants to accept that, I'm more than happy to accept that. Do we have to vote on that, or can we just discuss it? So tell me what
I
y'all
would say if that's the convention in this world, as you said, then, yeah, we should go along with that, but they do have the same meaning, this
Okay,
particular.
all right, so, one hopes, one shall not, bring this up again, and if one does, we can remind one that we voted as a group, and we agreed that we would not, delineate shalls and wills. Okay, so next is the passive vote. We have lots of the city shalls and the city wills. And then we have something such as page number 3, LU 1.2.5. That begins with development and redevelopment within the high recharge area of the Floridan aquifer shall be limited to an impervious area of 40%, that's your 40%, of the lot area. So this is the passive voice, and it lends a question, who's gonna do that? And if it's in the city, is the city gonna do that?
Okay.
So if that is something that we wanna keep, we need to maintain the active voice. I understand, city manager, that sometimes it feels like we have a grammarian up here, which I am not.
What policy again? I'm sorry, I didn't.
I'm at LU 1.2.5, but it also is with L1, I'm on page number 3. I kept asking you for page numbers and I didn't share the page number with you. Please accept my apology. I'm looking at LU 1.2.6 also. The storage of hazardous materials shall not be permitted. It's actually meaningless when you don't have someone who's going to be, so is it the city that's not gonna permit the storage of hazardous materials within the high recharge area of the Floridan?
Yeah, well, the city is the implementing body of this comprehensive plan, and then we do the next phase, which is the land development regulations. If there's required, a lot of these have required implementing legislation in your zoning or your land development.
Okay.
So that is that would be the implementation. This is the, as I say, the umbrella, and then underneath is the individual law. This is not a law,
Right.
but your ordinance,
And
your
please,
ordinances.
when we're at that point, please remind me, but at this point, we have a lot of the city shalls and wills, and we need to get rid of the shall be limited, shall not be permitted, because if this is the city's comprehensive plan, it should be the city shall limit, develop, and redevelopment within the high recharge area. That's LU, I keep saying L1, LU 1.2.5, and then LU 1.2.6. The city shall not permit the storage of hazardous materials within the high recharge area of the Floridan. So it is gonna be tedious work, but it's critically important work that we have the city in the role of this. Thank you.
Right.
I'm just looking at some of these. This might be water management district and other entities.
Well, if it's water management district.
I mean, it
then-
might be a combination. I'm just saying, I haven't read every one. I'd have to go back and reread.
Well, we need to do that then, because if it is water management district, it should be struck from the city's comp plan, because we can't tell the water management district what to do. If we're working in parallel with the water management district, then those words need to be in here. This is the comp plan that we're gonna be bound to, so it's very important that we understand, and that we don't suggest, Dr. Caesar, come join us, please.
That's what I get for sneaking in.
And that we don't suggest there's interpretation in here, because if the city is going to limit development and redevelopment, then it needs to be written in here. Passive voice gives no one authority, makes for a lot of assumptions. Words matter. Come sit here, please.
You're fine. You're doing great.
Dr. Robbins, you have you like listed out where you saw that in
Yeah,
there?
I've got markups.
Okay.
And I'm happy, actually, what I would actually be happy to do is to run my PDFs through my scanner and email, because it's handwritten markups. All right, so this is good. So
Yeah.
I would like for you guys to agree with me on this. If you don't agree, you're not gonna hurt my feelings, but I'd like some discussion. Active voice needs to,
So you're saying adding the words "the city will," like if we're looking at LE 1.2.5, the city will develop and redevelop. Is that what you're saying?
well, the city shall limit development and I'm at LU 1.2.5. The city shall limit development and redevelopment within the high recharge area of the Floridan aquifer. So you get rid of the passive voice shall be limited. And this is not grammatical, this is important.
I understand where you're going. I was using the same language on my drafts.
And if you would like, I'm more than happy to give some time to the city and I'll make those changes. It would probably take me a half a day. There's not a lot in here. Easy to do a search and paste. This is not a big deal, but it's critically important, I think, for the city and the comp plan.
So if you want to submit proposed changes to the rest of the group, we can do that, and then they can at least, or as a group, you can vote on whether or not to accept or reject the change.
Okay, what do you guys? Agree? You just walked in, are you gonna vote with us? We have 4 people.
All we're, but staff and legal counsel needs to look at the proposed changes to make sure it complies with
Well,
what.
we will.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do, so we just need to see what your comments are, so we can review them before so we can recommend if we think that's a good change or not, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, so we as a board have discussed that active voice, and we as a board are agreeing that, that we are agreeing to the need for the active voice, and I'll make those changes. So what comes from this, I can't send it to you guys, because we
You
can't
can-
communicate afterwards. So I'll make those changes, I'll put them in a different color even, and we can look at them at our next meeting, okay?
Dr. Rob,
Or
what you need to
can-
get us is the LU 1.2.9.
There are a lot of them.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's all you need.
Just
We can,
yeah, if you send it to Jamie, Bo, and I, we can look at them and Rich. I mean, you're allowed to talk to us all you can, and then we can get it out. It's just you can't get it out to the other board
Right, we
members.
can't.
But we can get it out to them. We're allowed to do that once we get your recommendation.
Okay, so we'll continue. This is why I was hoping for this discussion, so that we could communicate with one another instead of going through the city folks, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's-
But collaborative work,
There is,
there's a lot to be said about collaborative.
there
work.
is a process in place. We are to sit at home, do our drafts like you did, and then submit it to the cities
Right,
so they can
right. but
compile all the information for us.
This is absolutely understood, but each of
Uh-huh.
us is sitting in a room by ourselves.
Oh, I know.
And if we're sitting together, then we can discuss and we can agree and we can disagree.
So to catch up on the 30 seconds I was here, you are recommending that we have a motion to approve your active voice verbiage in the sections that you have highlighted that have already been submitted.
They have not been submitted.
They've not
I
been
will be
submitted?
submitting because I
Okay.
wanted to have discussion with the board members.
Okay.
I find it important that we have an opportunity to speak together and to discuss things. And that even though coming through you guys is wonderful, it's how it works legally, this is called collaboration. And I think that it's very important as we work together. We are a board, and as a unit, we're gonna work together. So let's look at page number 4, LU 1.2.10. This another, and I'll stop with this, there are plenty of them. So I'll stop with this one.
So just so that we're not here all night, if you wouldn't mind sending, however you want to do it, send it to Jamie, Bo, myself, like.
Happy to do so, happy to
And
do so.
then we can go back through it, and then we can provide, just like we did the other comments that the other board members gave, we will provide it back, we will make the necessary changes if it's appropriate. If it's not appropriate, we will tell you why, so that
Happy to do
you,
so.
so that we
please
don't
let
have,
me continue.
so we don't have to go
I'm
through every
playing vice
policy.
chair.
You're
Please
doing
let
great.
me continue.
Yeah.
So we're gonna look on page 4, LU 1.2.10, and it begins with waterfront development or redevelopment shall be regulated to provide setbacks to the natural water bodies, and then it goes through to a lot of strike through. So who's gonna do that? Who's gonna do that regulation? The city is gonna do this. In the comprehensive plan, the city is saying that they're gonna do that. So this, and I'll stop with this until my next series of comments. The city shall regulate, because it is the city doing so, waterfront development and redevelopment to provide setbacks. So that's what's gonna go in here, and that's what you guys are gonna see when you're gonna receive it from the rest.
that was just another active passive voice content.
Right, but
Yep.
it's not it's not a grammar point. It's a point that within the comprehensive plan, who is in charge is the city. This is the city's comprehensive plan. So it's important that the city shall establish, the city shall regulate, the city, who is doing that?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. It is not, I don't even know grammar. I know no grammar. I know no grammar.
So in the comments that I'm listening to and the ones that I've submitted, I also propose that the city take ownership of facilitating the different growth patterns that may happen in the next 7 years. So we are on the same,
I
we have
think-
not discussed, but we are,
But I
on
think
the
this
same-
may be a different concept.
it is
Yeah,
similar, we're on the same road, parallel tracks.
all right. Okay, so, passive voice, all right, let's go on to page number 11, LU 1.5.7. Madam Planner, I would like you to translate that paragraph. What does that mean, please?
Which one?
1.5.7?
The city shall require a minimum 25-foot buffer between lands and the industrial, light industrial, and all other land uses. So therefore, if you have an industrial light and an light industrial land use and anything else, whether it's commercial or residential, your other land use categories, you need to have a 25-foot buffer.
Okay, and so then also, please, would you explain the, additional verbiage that's not needed? Why is this additional verbiage, struck?
Because it's trying, to me, it went into like, between a right of way, between this, with this, it's like, you're just wanting a 25-foot buffer, not if you divide it between a right of way or this, it's more.
So it's a level of detail that was unnecessary?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm wondering about the use of the word all, when we have all in things such as, this is just an example, there's some other alls. What do you guys think about that? It was kind of beaten into my head when I was writing documents like this, that the word all is something we try to avoid, but shall and will are also beaten into my head. So
It's specific to all other land use designations. You're going back to the comp plan, you're going back to your future land use categories. So it's very specific in what it's meant there.
The word all?
Yes, because
Yes,
all
Does the word all add to the meaning of this particular sentence?
well, because you got to, or otherwise you gotta list out every land use category that this applies to. This is saying all others other than industrial.
Could we, if we said and other land use designations, would that not be the same as and all other land use designations?
I mean, I did all other because I wanted to make it specific that it's not just, that it's not residential, it's commercial, it's institutional, it's all other. The ones that are in your comp plan, elsewhere in your comp plan, as well as on your map.
So are we gonna accept all in the comprehensive plan or not, please?
I think it's fine in this instance.
Okay, okay, all right, good, well, okay, then we will go with all. So, down to number 11, so I'm gonna mark through that. Down to, still on page number 11, down to LU 1.6, the objective. The city will identify historic and archaeological resources within the city. And then what?
Then you go to the policies. The policies are the implementing policies, and more specific, that the city shall protect archaeological and that the city shall consider incentives. Those are under, it just happens on a different page, but that's the objective and these are the policies.
So, the objective of this particular land use regulation is for the city to identify historic and archaeological resources.
It's not land use regulation, this policy.
Policy, sorry, I know I don't have my verbiage for this.
It's very.
And I love that you're correcting me, thank you very much.
I know.
One day I'll have my verbiage. So this policy is that the city will identify historic and archaeological resources, period, that's the policy. To what end, whatever the purpose is, I thought that was the objective.
This was your objective. Your
Right.
policies shall protect significant archaeological resources, archaeological and historic sites as identified the Florida Division of Historic Resources. The city shall consider incentives and assistance to provide private development to preserve historic and archaeologically significant features in the city. That is it. That's how you will identify the archaeological resource.
For this-
Basically, you're using the Florida Master Site Plan.
For this, the intent is for the Heritage Commission to take an active involvement in certain parts.
How do I read that in here? I don't read that in here.
Well,
It's the intent.
But the intent,
We can add it, it's okay. But that is the intent.
when you guys read this, did you wonder, or did you not read it, or tell me?
I read it, and I think the intent makes sense here, and the takeaway of certain verbiage is not needed makes sense.
Okay, all right, I'm on page number 12, let's go to LU 1.7.2. And this is much easier, I know it's tedious, but it's much easier than doing it through email, and I think that I would like to believe that the quiet left is engaging, and the semi-quiet right is engaging.
I've been very active since I sat down.
Yeah. All right,
Well, Dr. Robbins, the other group did give feedback already that we've addressed.
good, thank you. So LU 1.7.2, the city shall provide an incentive to developers for the preservation of existing trees on site. What is that?
It's in your land development regulations, you have a tree ordinance that addresses and maintaining and when you maintain trees.
So-
You have that is the policy that's in your comprehensive plan. And you have a land development regulation in your zoning code related to tree preservation. So that you can't, this is the comprehensive plan is the path. We wanna have something related to trees. How are we gonna do it? You can't, the comprehensive plan cannot have all your land development regulations.
I'm not asking for that.
So
I'm asking-
therefore, in your if you,
You need to stop for a moment.
no, so
I'm
I'm
asking,
just,
what do you mean by an incentive? And I know that you didn't write this plan, and I know we're hoping not to, make too many changes, because we don't want the plan to be bounced, but the city shall provide an incentive. What does that mean? I don't need the history of tree.
I'm
ordinances.
saying, in your tree ordinance, there are incentives. If you maintain a tree of a certain size, you don't have to add so many trees. That's in your land, that's a common tree landscaping requirement. You maintain a big tree, you don't have to replace so many trees. So
There's
that's
a-
your incentive.
So
There
is
is a
that in our
formula?
tree ordinance?
Yes.
Dr.
yeah.
Robbins,
Yes,
there is
sir.
a formula, I don't know where it's at, I know it is written, I think it's in our, section 19, of so much vegetation in tree diameter sizes. Duck Row had to do that for the Sunrise development, Wiggins development also had to do the same thing.
So they
For the
had to do a
Sunrise
tree
development.
survey.
What?
They had to do a tree survey.
That's the word right there,
So-
thank you.
To answer your question, what does it mean for incentive is
Right.
we want to encourage developers to preserve tree canopy. We are considered, at least were at one point, one of the few tree cities USA. A designation because we took care of all of our trees and mapped them all out, so we want to continue that.
And when the development was going in, they, both, I'm not sure about Duck Row, but Wiggins did, they made a contribution to our capital improvement fund so they can re-landscape that area and remove trees of a certain diameter and smaller.
So there's different terms of art, so there are different diameters at breast height, you'll hear called through different tree mitigation standards. So if the tree's removed beyond a certain diameter, they either have to pay into the mitigation fund or they have to replace that tree with a like kind. So you can't just put a water oak sapling in the place of a 300-year-old live oak.
Like we required, and I'm just remembering from our tree report, it was about a year ago with Mr. Wiggins, we required him that he had to have, all the trees had to be, I think a minimum of 3-inch caliper.
This is I don't know whether it's an objective
This
or
is a-
policy.
this is a
It says
policy
the
you're
city
talking.
shall provide an incentive, and we're discussing tree sizes and
Mhm.
replacement of trees. What is the incentive?
The
that-
incentive is
incentive.
if you take trees down, you have to pay.
Right,
So the incentive's not paying, it's a negative incentive. The incentive is, if you don't want it to pay, then preserve trees.
So I read that as, the city would pay the developers not to cut their trees down.
No, they
No.
pay
That's how I
us.
read that.
I understand,
Yeah.
they pay us.
Okay, so does there need to be different verbiage here, or do we need to leave it like this so that we don't get bounced? Because I wrote here with question marks, really? Because it looks like the city would provide some sort of an incentive to the developer.
Well, they
Does
are.
there need to be different verbiage, or is this,
I don't think so. I mean, incentives can come in a number of different forms. So an incentive doesn't necessarily have to be the city giving something. We're incentivizing, meaning that you're avoiding penalty unless you comply with our tree regulations.
We're making it more difficult for him, we're giving him an incentive to keep a big oak tree. That's how our tree ordinance is written.
Sometimes you use carrots, sometimes you use stick.
right, but
They're both
the
incentives.
incentive, it was, it is quite nebulous, but if that is something that we wanna keep in the plan, are we okay with this? Where do we hear this?
I would like to keep the verbiage, if you would like to change the words, that's fine. I got no
We're a
hard point.
team, we're a team.
I understand,
It looks like three of us, and that's good.
that's fine. I am okay either way. I'm always alone. I am very happy that way. So what I'm trying to say is, if you wanna keep the verbiage, it's fine. If you wanna change the verbiage, that's also okay. What I would like us to do is to keep the incentive, whether we use a carrot or a stick, within our comp plan. However you wish to have it written, I would like to keep that in there.
Could it be something like a requirement, the city shall require, something along those lines instead of providing an incentive?
You'll have to give me an example of what you're thinking.
I'll see if I can come up with some words.
Because when you say the city shall require compared to the current, that would be a problem as being more restrictive.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, all right, so I'm uncomfortable with incentive, but the board is not uncomfortable with incentives, so I'm gonna mark through that. All right, let's go to page number 13, please. LU 1.8, please translate, Madam Planner.
Okay, we're based on city council, mayor direction on annexation and other meetings I've been at. There is an incentive to, this was a very restrictive annexation policy, and that was passed for previous city councils, and now there is a desire to promote annexation. So all we're saying is we will promote voluntary annexation that meets state statute, and state statute is very specific on the requirements in order to annex. It has to be compact, it has to be contiguous, and I could go on and on, but if it meets those requirements,
Well, the
and somebody,
requirements that they are required central service.
right, bid for service, whatever. It's just saying that the city will encourage voluntary annexation to those properties that meet state statute for voluntary annexation. So it's saying that we will encourage it if they're gonna meet those state statutes, they can come forward with an application. I think we added an application to our website to
Yes.
that.
We added it, so,
Yes.
to amplify, and it's probably 9 months ago, city council discussion, I think during a budget discussion or subject to sewer, where basically by consensus, the city council had talked about looking favorably on annexation, not that there was a vote. And then more recently, 2 months ago, in a budget and finance committee meeting, the budget and finance committee meeting asked to add the annexation document onto the city council website. And so that's where Janice and I spoke about, intent of the city council looks to be favorable towards annexation versus against annexation, and thus this change.
Is it reasonable to provide incentives using
For
the three
annexation?
words? Pardon me?
For annexation?
Yeah,
No.
okay. Why?
The incentive is that if you're part of the city, you get something that's more enhanced than if you're in the unincorporated parts of the county.
Okay,
So that happens just by default.
through the encouragement, you sell the city.
Well, one of our council members made a comment, there's really not a whole lot of incentive to be part of the city, because even people who live just outside the boundaries still take advantage of the beach or parks, all the other amenities that we provide without having to pay higher taxes.
A lot of cities, usually the other cities within the county, their densities are higher than the density that's in the county would allow, as well as, for instance, I know Green Cove Springs, if you're in the county and you're on their water or sewer system, you pay a higher fee. So sometimes it's cheaper or less expensive, that's a better way of saying it, to come into the city limits because you're not paying as
So if
high
you pay a
water
member
rates.
rate
Yeah, a member rate.
versus a non-member rate.
Yeah.
Okay, I must say I appreciate your patience, there's not a lot remaining. Is there a planning definition, I'm on page number 25, at objection H 3.1?
Hold on.
Let's get to 25, and what was the number again?
Yeah, the housing developments, the ones that I was questioning, there was a whole lot of, this is more restrictive, but the things that were listed as more restrictive was straight out of the 2012 plan. So so that was my questions when I was submitting I think that was the very first email.
Okay.
I'm sorry, so
So-
what was your question?
Well, where are you at? What specific,
We're on page 25, what's the?
H3.1. I'm curious about a definition of, substandard housing. The statement is, the city shall maintain or reduce the current level of substandard housing. What is the definition?
anything that does not meet the city, do you have a maintenance code? Or you don't? I don't know. It's basically what's, it's housing that does not meet the current code. For instance, it's windows that are in disrepair, roofs that are, sagging in, windows that are cracked. Those are all less than code, is the best way of saying it. And those are code enforcement issues. It's what the code enforcement, does. They look at those things, and that's really what substandard is housing that does not meet our minimum housing code. That's what I
So
think of,
is
minimum
that-
housing code.
Is there a planning definition of substandard housing, or is that?
It doesn't meet the minimum housing code.
Okay, should we say that in here, or is that unnecessary?
I don't
Okay,
think it's
all right,
So,
thank you.
I will tell you, some code provisions like this, which are talking about affordable housing, and substandard housing, some of those, I believe, were required when the Community Redevelopment Agency was established, because a CRA, as a tax increment financing district, is required to identify blight or to improve certain areas, which we generally use our downtown corridor, to improve those areas to meet kind of the look and feel of what Keystone Heights was back in the 20s and 30s. So because of those types of tax increment financing districts, these elements were forced into our code and things like that.
These elements meaning H.3.1, H3.1,
Well,
H,
all.
completely all of H?
Yeah, it's the one element that you have to include, but yet really the city can't implement, is a nice way of saying it.
And since the time where this became part of our comprehensive plan, the state has taken over quite a bit of affordable housing. You may hear the term the Live Local Act. The Live Local Act was passed, I think, 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And that essentially preempted local authority from stopping any type of affordable housing. We don't really have as much of this problem, actually. One of the applications that did come before you. In order to take advantage of the Live Local Act, if a piece of property is already zoned commercial or zoned industrial, a developer can actually develop multifamily homes on that property without any approval from the city.
At the
So-
highest density within the county. or
So
city.
these types of preemptions, meaning the authority was taken away from us and taken over by the state, those things post-date when these elements were written.
So are they necessary?
Yes, they're still necessary for different, most likely grants that we apply for. Let me give you another example. It's been a number of years, but there was a time period where we, as a city, applied for CDBG, Community Development Block Grants. Those community development block grants were designed to help remediate dilapidated housing. So people could come and apply for that grant funding, and we would remodel their house using the CDBG funds.
How did the city disseminate that information? Because that's another one of my questions.
There was an advertisement that once, as part of the grant requirement,
Okay.
we were required to advertise. There were a number of people that applied. They had to meet area median income levels.
Yes.
Once they met those levels, then their project would get a walkthrough, and their project was bid out by local contractors.
Yes,
And before they
I
could,
appreciate that.
and before they could apply, when they were doing the application project, the city had to show policies that they had in their comprehensive plan that promoted that.
Or you weren't
Eligible.
eligible to apply for the grant.
So, is there anything that should be brought to our attention of all the strike-throughs, on the 3.1.2, or just
Anything in the housing element, Janice, why is there stuff stricken out? This is what she does.
Yeah,
Well,
that was
the-
my question that I had submitted, is if you added this, it's more restrictive.
Okay, there are things that for instance, there are things that talk about, specific, I'm looking 3.2, where it talks about which ordinances, I didn't think that was required. It talks about the city updating their inventory of housing, substandard housing. I think it's performed by code enforcement, so there's not a need for it to be in the comp plan. So there's a lot of things that code enforcement does it. The idea that the comp plan is telling the city that they're gonna grant a variance for certain things, that takes the flexibility, and it's a conflict with your zoning code, where you have the ability to look at a particular variance and see if it makes sense or not.
Well, but it's just a policy, it's not actually.
Yeah, it's a policy. And these are all policies. The one that talks about, including in land development for one or more of the following: a fast track one-stop permitting, waiver processing for affordable housing, current review of multiple applications. You just don't have that many housing projects that really matters. You know, I mean, every year the city of Jacksonville, we're gonna have one-stop permitting. You have one-stop permitting, IEBO, you know. So that's kind of stuff. The other thing is that with the last part related to all the energy requirements, that was taken out when the statute was changed in 2011. And actually in 2024, it said you must take it out. Initially it said you could, now it says you must in the 2024 change.
So the comments of too restrictive, my understanding is if we maintain the old comprehensive plan, it's okay. We don't want to make the old comprehensive plan more restrictive. We don't want to make the new one more restrictive than the old one.
Which means you can carry over the language
Yeah,
from
'cause
that verbatim.
I think the difference is, one is Senate Bill 180 says you can't be more restrictive on the developer. That's the best way, landowner, developer. These are restricted on the city side.
Okay.
That's a difference. It's
It was
not
just a
being.
question I had. Is
Right,
more
it says the
restrictive,
city
is it more
shall
restrictive than what?
include private sector review and revisions, of housing, you know, as a requirement of the comp plan. We're gonna still do it, but it's not a requirement of the comp plan. That's what in this respect, the too restrictive is on the city and city staff,
Okay.
not on, the developer. That Senate bill is the developer. The staff was looking out for the city.
Are these fast track waiver of fees and multiple permit review? Are these in place now? Is the city?
No.
So,
Well, let me take this back. Yes, because it's in our current comprehensive plan.
But
Are we doing it?
no.
Yeah.
And so that was the point. Why
Other than
keep,
Bo doing it as fast as he can.
why keep
Well, but
something
we
new
don't-
that we're not doing and we're probably not gonna do?
We
You know,
don't
there's no
issue
point.
building permits, so
Yeah.
that doesn't.
Right, the county issues, yeah.
No, in fact, not only do we not issue the permits, but we don't even have an inspector within the city to do the inspections. All that is done by the county.
okay, so the too restrictive, we've been reading earlier, it's too restrictive on business, and now we're reading that it's
not
actually
business.
a
It's-
burden. It's actually an increased burden on the city. That's, okay, all right, good.
So when you contemplate more burdensome or restrictive, it's on the property owner. It cannot be more burdensome or restrictive to the property owner. It's not necessarily business, residence, it's everything. So whoever owns that property, if we are in their way, that's what the state is saying you can't do anymore.
Right. So the too restrictive, though, that comment in red on page 27, H3.2.6 is really on the rest of the sentence that's not written, is on city staff, okay? And the staff is here, and the staff says, please get this out of the comprehensive plan.
And we've met
So
Sarah
let's
many
get it out of
times.
the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
Is there a downside to that? Because what happens if we decide at the next review that we should put this back in? We can't,
No,
because we pulled it out.
that doesn't necessarily read it, because we don't know what the legislature is gonna do with the State Planning Act or any other, we can't predict the legislature.
Well, that's what
But fast tracking wouldn't be more restrictive.
You can also put it into your your land use chapters that are within the charter. So that, just because we pull out of here, it doesn't mean it's erased. We can put it in the charter under our land use agency, our
Would you
land use
like
chapter.
that? Would you like to do that?
I-
The board?
That's fine by me.
Well, I'm actually not unhappy with this, I was just asking for,
Okay.
explanation of the mark-throughs. Okay, let me see if I have any more. I have some blue tabs, but they'll go pretty quickly.
I think it's safe to say we will stay in sections 1 to 5 today.
Well, I mean, if there's anything
Well, I
else,
have to
there's
send my
I don't know.
changes.
I liked her jump from page 12 to 25.
Right.
So,
Awesome,
wasn't it?
let's
1 to
go.
5, he put 1 to 5, I wanted to get it all, you know, I thought we could do it because I've been doing this long enough, I know where the arguments are, is the best way of saying it, so.
But that's fine, so my sections 2, 3, and 4, all I did was just reinforce what I would like to see in chapter, in land use. I've submitted all my things in writing.
Well,
And we addressed them before you came, so we'll talk about it
And,
later.
and your board is here, so if you'd like to discuss anything with your board about that
Well,
that you submitted.
I would recommend that while you find the next comment, that we go back and just bring Dr. Zeser up to speed
Okay, this is a
on
good time.
what we talked about. So,
Okay, I think one of your comments is dealt with the level of service standards,
Yes,
and we are maintaining them. The only thing we're getting rid of is some of the local roads, but every other level of service standard is the same as it was, and it's maintained. And we don't have to say as of 2012 because
no,
it
it was,
is, and I think,
I wasn't worried per se, worried's kind of a strong term. I didn't want to be misinterpreted or misunderstood that we will do infrastructure development ahead of
that's the concurrence,
business.
yeah.
That's not what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say is we work in concurrency with the city as the facilitator of
And-
whatever we need for development.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to do.
And what I also said is, when staff reviews, does a review for land use or rezoning or an amendment, we would look at level of service standard, and you are way under any level of service standard. And chances are, if we developed every piece of property in this city, in this current city limits, we would not even get near tripping it, so we're good. in
No,
that
no,
respect.
I figured.
Dr.
Yeah.
Zeser, just to facilitate that discussion, I think this, and I'm trying to gain an understanding of currency and level of service, but simply put, the only change in level of service is non-state roads drop off, because we don't expect they'll ever exceed their current level of service.
No.
And so all those level of services carry forward from the 2011 plan to the new plan. And thus, when we review any submittals, applications, we're gonna look at level of service and make sure that there's concurrency before we would approve them, because those stay with the new document.
There's just a few places,
Yep.
not many, pretty much, only 1 square mile, it's really easy to find them. Well, up north, and then the Wiggins Group has it.
Right.
And they don't have sewer yet, which is obvious, and they don't have power yet, which is obvious. But yes, I didn't want to sit there and say no development at all. Just, okay, can we work something out here? Last city hall meeting, the discussion for widening the sidewalk along, is that Sunrise Boulevard?
We
That road
talked
going-
about Nightingale. Nightingale to Sunrise.
Yes, thanks. So those are the things that I was trying to highlight and bring up for matters of discussion, so that we don't get over our skis, we don't overdevelop our infrastructure, running ourselves ragged. I met with, a couple years ago, the county planner, I wanna say Mike David, I don't think that's right.
Mike Brown?
That's right in that office right back there. One thing he did say, and it stuck, because I'm not exactly the sharpest tack in the box. He did state that if we don't have any dirt roads, he recommends that we don't start now, and if we do have a dirt road, he recommends that we pave them.
Correct.
So that was the other avenue, and I will use that pun, that I was going for.
And the main thing with concurrency is to keep in mind, it's not for existing roads, existing
No.
development.
No,
It's for, you can't make the developer pay for your mistakes, and
No.
not mistakes, or what you didn't do as a city.
Mhm.
And not you, one city, I'm saying, this is statewide. Okay, developer makes this impact, he's gotta pay for his impact. But all your underlying stuff, even like when you have impact fees or whatever, it can't fix those things.
Correct.
That's gotta be the city, and good or
Correct.
bad, that's what
But I
it
think
is.
we're pretty square as a city with
Right.
our level of service all across the board.
Yes, correct. Okay.
One something that Madam Planner said, that she, worked it out all the way to 2046, and we were still,
Level
at
service
C.
C,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But, I mean, there's a possibility that Sunrise Development may require a traffic signal or a blinking traffic signal, something like that.
I'm anticipating that, to be honest with you.
Those things generally, because of the roads they're on, are gonna be through the Florida Department of Transportation.
Yeah, and that,
A lot of what you're describing as far as you don't wanna be left without the infrastructure, those things are planned out for in statute with what's called proportionate fair share or mobility fees.
Okay, cool.
Okay, page 40.
Good jump, I'll take that jump.
C 6.2.1. The city will continue to review construction practices and stormwater management plans during the site plan review process to prevent soil erosion, off-site siltation, or soil erosion and off-site siltation or surface water runoff. Who in the city does this?
Well,
I see.
Bo, do you want to describe how this process works?
I don't need the process, I just
Yeah.
need to know who does
Bo.
this.
In coordination with the county as well.
Yeah,
Okay, and this is something that you do, Bo?
We call
Okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm gonna go to 6.2.3, and I'm at A.
Page, same page?
Same page, yes, 40. I'm at A, and we've got a setback of 50 feet. I'm gonna, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to read those first several lines. I know we're enjoying this, but this is very important. All structures shall, not just this aspect, but what we're doing. And you guys are quiet, you have an opportunity to talk. You have an opportunity to interrupt me. We're here as a collaborative board. Thank you.
How come you didn't look to your right and say that?
Pardon
I
me?
interrupt her all the time.
All right. Yeah, that's
I am not bashful.
Yeah,
All structures shall be set back a minimum of 50 feet landward of the property line or ordinary high water line, which is more restrictive. Setbacks for waterfront structures on Lake Geneva, Keystone Lake, and Lake Brooklyn shall be governed by the historical ordinary high water line established by the DEP/Corps of Engineers. Corps of Engineers doesn't establish the ordinary high water line. That needs to be deleted. It's also important that we sort of maintain our chain of command, which is we report to the state. We don't report to the feds are not delineating our ordinary high water line. Okay.
I think
that's
the Army,
involved.
but I think the Army Corps is involved, and I don't know, again, I'm gonna look at my water management district expertise there.
I mean, it depends where, but yeah, sometimes the Army Corps is involved.
Well, and sometimes the Corps offers different grant and funding opportunities, and because of that, they're involved in the process, so.
So do we solicit the Corps in this aspect, defining the ordinary high water line? That's because that's what this references.
They do define it. When somebody's gonna go after development, they have to get Corps, depending on the project, that's why it's slash. Some projects you need both, some projects you just need Corps or just DEP. It just depends on the project.
So let me try to answer your question. I do have another client that is working on a dredging project, a large-scale dredging project. And the Corps comes out and computes their own calculations as to where the water line is, separate from whatever the DEP does. So I can see a scenario where that would be possible.
Okay, all right, yes. Oh,
In my
I thought-
previous line of work, I had lots of discussions with the Army Corps of Engineers with dredging,
Okay.
because I worked in the maritime industry.
I accept the discussion, and I'm satisfied to not walk through that. Okay.
I hate those guys, and I say we stay away from them.
Done.
Sometimes Corps is better than DEP, I've had on some projects. I mean, yeah, she's, yeah.
We'll let
think
Jim
they're
take
all-
that as last shot.
Every time they jump on board, I can increase the timeline by
Right.
18 months, not a
Yeah.
problem.
You know what, I'll tell you what, in Putnam County, they are rocking along.
Yeah, okay.
So there's water conservation, a lot of water conservation that the city is involved with, including the air conditioners. I'm at page number 42, C 6.2.7. Do we really do this?
see, what number?
6.2.7, to recharge the aquifer and conserve water resources, the city shall require that development, redevelopment permitted by the city that is served by water to air heat pumps have return wells. Bo, is this something that you do in the permits, that require water from heat pumps to be retained on site? Do we do that? Does the city do that?
Probably not.
Could that be deleted?
That's condensation, but we're talking about just standard condensation, condensate water.
Do you wanna keep that in here, or should we delete this?
Based on, never mind, it's minuscule.
Maintain it? Okay.
Did you say keep it? I'm sorry?
Yes.
All I'm saying is the level of condensate from HVAC systems that are leaking into our ground soil, minuscule, it can go away, or we can.
What I'm saying is, we've got something that the city is committing itself to. It's requiring that these developments that are permitted by the city and are served by water to air heat pumps have return wells.
I think that's how the systems are probably built.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of current,
It's old.
Yeah, it's kinda old.
We're not doing that no more, and we don't even have any wells, no private wells at all within the city that's scratched.
So should C 6.2.7,
We can eliminate it.
yay!
I wasn't even looking at
Do
you.
y'all
so I
agree
don't know.
I'm just giving hints, but I'm not supposed to, but yeah.
okay. Alright,
Alright, same page, 42, 6.3, the city shall, pick one.
okay.
And I'm laughing because I'm the person at the beginning of this whole conversation was what is will and what is shall. So you pick it and I'll go with it.
Okay.
Promote water conservation, period.
We have a water
I would rather
conservation
probably say
program.
shall and water conservation, just as the water management district comes around and promotes everybody to do it, so yes. So
We
shall.
actually passed the water
Right,
conservation.
Right,
We did.
yeah, so shall.
Resolution?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
at
last
city
council meeting.
council, well done, okay, good job, okay.
Okay, we'll do shall, since I did that one, so I'll switch it for you.
How do you pick?
Go for it.
Okay, we're going forward. I only have two more blue things. But I reserve the right to go back, because you've told us at every meeting, nothing's finished until it's
Well, it's
finished.
not going back, I'm just saying you can make any, we don't have to go back, but at a future time, if you would like to come up with a specific goal, it can be a distress, not going through the whole thing.
Thank you. All right, so, is this something we do and should it?
I don't know where you
Well,
are.
you did
Yeah, where are you?
Well, I'm not there yet. That's the prompt of the question. We're on page number 43, 6.3.2 at the very top. The city shall coordinate water usage with the Clay County Utility Authority and will implement strategies to reduce water consumption.
But yes, usually,
And you're
You-
working with the utility authority to do so, and are you implementing
they
strategies?
usually have, and I've seen it various times, you'll put little flyers out when people walk in and say, how to conserve water and things like that. It's what we're doing. And this sometimes allows you to get some grant funding or something, but yeah.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
Janice, doesn't the water supply, how we get the term of this
Yes,
plan?
so water facility supply is gonna have more detail, yes.
And so we, as part of this, we have to develop a water supply plan that then goes to, it's CCUA and
And
St. John's River Water
it's water
Management District for
management,
review, right?
Yeah. It's water management, actually. so.
Okay, Water Management District, okay, sorry.
Okay, C 6.4.1, the city shall implement a
What
public.
page are you still on?
Same
Still
page,
same page.
43, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for keeping me on the page. The city shall implement a public information program which informs residential and non-residential development within the high recharge area with information of the potential for contamination of the aquifer and adjacent surface waters from a poorly maintained or failing septic tank. Critically important. Are we doing that? Do we do that today?
Yes, we have Councilman Knight, he is a one-man public information.
Is he? Okay.
Yes.
Good. I've seen
That's news
conserve
to me.
water on the light sign outside, conserve water, don't have a fire, so that I appreciate. And this is, really important, cause this is, y'all know better than I do, y'all know much better than I do. Okay, I've got two more points. All right, I'm on page number 45. And I'm at 6.5.4. And I see all the mark throughs, so what I'm reading that's not marked through is the city will coordinate with the St. Johns River Water Management District on the Black Creek project to restore the lake water levels.
We've already done that. We already have a whole project, $100 million, something like that.
But
This,
there's-
that's, the
there's
city
still
doesn't have a
maintaining.
$100 million project. Does the city have was it the city that oversaw the piping, $115,
No, they're
I think?
the city will coordinate, and they're
Right.
they're part of the group that the.
Save the lakes.
Yes.
Right,
That's it.
but I think
What's
that
it-
I
what-
hesitate,
yeah.
it's sort of, in my mind, it's like naming our planner. It's like saying the city will work with Janice Fleet to do city planning. And it doesn't,
The water.
I don't know, I
That's
don't
right.
know that we want to, I don't know that we want to call out the Black Creek project in our comprehensive plan unless we want to marry with the Black Creek project in our.
We already
So-
are.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But it sounds
We
like
are
what you
married.
potentially recommending is
Yeah.
strike the whole paragraph.
That's my,
I don't think it would hurt us, so at this point, and I'm just stepping in because I got a bit of subject matter expertise over the last year.
This is the fact that you're working there.
Yeah, oh, no, I didn't work there.
is that his
Volunteer.
second job?
I may have been involved in a permit before it was approved, but, so basically, St. Johns River Water Management District is gonna run the system.
Right,
Right, and so regardless of what the city wants, this all was in here, this is pre-Black Creek, this is pre-solution to the issue. This was the city trying to make sure that the water levels were guarded, increased, and protected, which has occurred. And so I don't necessarily know that we need to keep that
I'd
paragraph
like to
in there.
strike the whole
The-
thing.
the
I
only
don't think
reason
it's
I would-
appropriate. I don't think it's a good precedent.
The only reason I would recommend it is we got this grant because we said we would coordinate it with the Black Creek project. If you remember, we originally
We
submitted
did,
the
we were the
grant.
ones that hosted the
Yeah,
water
it's
summit.
Done,
Yeah.
yeah, that's done.
No, but I'm
That needs to be
saying,
complimented.
when we went after this grant requirement, we said, based on that, we talked about the Black Creek project, so I just think to have a policy say that we'll keep coordinating, isn't hurting anything, but it's up to y'all, but that was the reason we kept something
I mean,
about
really,
it.
we're partners.
Yeah,
We're partners with a
Does the
group of
Black
people.
Creek project afford us the opportunity to apply for any sort of grant money should something happen in our nearest future?
we have no idea.
I understand we have no idea.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, it
asking
doesn't
for a
hurt.
supposition.
This is just, the way I look at it is saying, the water manager district is the lead agency, because they're the funding
Yes,
guys.
yes.
This is saying we're gonna continue, and if for some reason in the future, the water management district says, Keystone, we don't wanna talk to you, then you can go and say, no, it's in our comp plan, you gotta coordinate with us.
Understood.
Yeah,
And so
but
that's the
that-
pi-
I don't think that the mayor could tell the water management district that they must abide by something that's in our
Yes,
comprehensive
they
plan.
can, because the water management district, that's not in, because the water management district projects cannot be in conflict with a local government's comprehensive plan. So if in the future, they didn't want the mayor sitting at the table, she could say, no, I have to sit at the table because we have a comprehensive policy, it's not in compliance with it. And I had that with Hastings in the town, that they had some policy that allowed them to come to the table. I mean, it's up to y'all, but that's the only reason to keep something in there. It just,
Well, hypothetical, I mean, we're not ever gonna do that, so.
I know, and I doubt if it's just as, whatever you wanna do.
So my vote is, scratch it.
I would much rather we keep it,
You wanna keep it?
if you do not mind. I know you do, but if you
No,
don't.
every person is important. This, the conversation and the discussion is the fruit. It is the fruit, and the end is,
If you are this passionate to have it removed, I'm gonna have to stay at a half step and say I'd rather keep it.
okay, we've got this a problem. We're gonna have the city manager. All right, tell me where.
He's a
we may
non-voting
not
member,
make it
sorry,
to
it's
the
just
city
us four.
manager. If you guys,
I think we should
Keep it in. All right.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Caesar, to answer your question, we have used the Black Creek as an argument for grant applications.
I was just
And
asking, I
it's,
have no idea.
yeah, and I just want to answer your question, and we do, and it's an argument, something along the lines of, let's say septic to sewer. We would say something along the lines of, the state has invested $120 million to bring up water levels at the upper point of the upper Florida aquifer. And we want the state to partner with us on septic to sewer conversions to protect that investment from contamination.
Whatever we gotta do.
Yeah.
I made my position very loud and clear on the
Okay.
septic to sewer conversion.
Okay, you have one more? or
I have
no?
one, yeah, I do have one more comment. And I wanna I wanna tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity for what I was hoping to be a bit of an open discussion. I believe that it has been. I do. I love that that we agreed to things, we disagreed to things. That doesn't even matter really to me. What matters is that we were able to work together as a board, and I appreciate that. I have one little comment, and it struck me, and I'm probably gonna be bringing this up all the way until we're at the end here. The downtown mixed use. We're going from 50-50 to nothing. And, if we, and I heard a commentator at a city council meeting several months ago say, once you do that, there's no going back. So there is no going back, and we're going from 50-50 to 0%. We're saying you can do it, you can have residential and
Can
commercial.
I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
What is your hard point on removing the 50-50?
I don't mind removing the
No,
50-50.
I just wanna know what your hard point is. Why?
My hard point is,
Thank
if
you.
we totally remove the 50-50 and we put no restrictions at all, then in the future, we won't be able to go back.
Okay, so your sticking point is you might wanna have that avenue open in the future. for
Right,
whatever
like
purpose.
80-20 even, or something, some stair step from 50-50 to the 0.
If your downtown was, and I'm gonna use the word dead, I don't think your downtown is dead, you have a vibrant downtown.
It's
You've got a vibrant downtown, and it's all developed, there's not a lot of vacant property within the downtown mixed-use area, the area that was originally the mixed use. If you had a lot of development, if you had a lot of property that was dilapidated and you had a lot of vacant property, i.e. Green Coast Springs has that, City of Jacksonville has it, where you have your downtown area has more vacant property or dilapidated property developed. You don't, then I'd say, yeah, that makes sense, you wanna promote that mixed use, walkability, all that good stuff, that planners use. That's not, you've got a vibrant downtown with a lot of businesses, and what we found in the one development that somebody was interested in expanding their business, is it was restricted. And we do not want to restrict it, because that is where are you gonna go? This one business just wanted to add a little bit of land here. And he wanted to expand his business a little bit on one side. He could not do it. We restricted him. And that's what you're doing by having that, because you don't have, you're lucky that you have developed properties
Yeah.
that are in good shape.
Yeah.
And you're telling somebody you cannot improve because you gotta go 50-50. And where are they gonna do it? They're gonna go up, they're not gonna do
I'm
it.
hearing what you're saying, what about incentives? The word incentive is stuck in my craw, because it's like with the trees, there are incentives for. So could we put something in the verbiage for incentives, provide incentives to, for those, somehow get some numbers in there. So that we're not turning our back on the potential for a 60-40 or a 70-30 or an 80-20. When we go from 50-50 to nothing, no restriction, no combination of residential and commercial, we will not be able to go back. We won't be able to go back. Maybe that's okay. It's just a thought I have. And I'm just throwing it out here for discussion. I'm not looking for words for the comp plan. I'm throwing it out here for discussion about the potential for incentives, something such as that.
There is the option of having a percentage mix and using it as a bargaining chip or a negotiation point should someone wish to develop.
Wait, I'm sorry, we can't do that.
Okay, never mind.
So you
I think we should.
you can't condition straight zoning, which this is a straight zoning category.
Mhm.
You can condition planned unit development. So if somebody wanted to do that, we would force them into a PUD. We couldn't do it with straight zoning.
So are
Okay,
incentives not, that we couldn't come up with incentives for, bringing any sort of residential. Cause we're at 50-50 residential, commercial right now, and we're saying we're getting rid of it all. You can have residential if you want residential, but you don't have to have residential.
So generally speaking, I would say you want the market to dictate whatever someone who's gonna build on their property thinks is the best option for them. So, I mean, you can look downtown Jacksonville and the beaches are probably your closest examples. Right now, 50-50 means if I have a 1,500 square foot footprint, the first floor is commercial, the second floor is gonna be residential. Okay, well, what if I wanted to make a 3-story building? And I wanted the top 2 floors to be residential and the first floor to be commercial? I couldn't do that right now. What if we wanted to build,
Well, I'm okay with this not 50-50 because the board voted against 50-50. I didn't vote against 50-50 because I never felt as if you convinced me that anything else would be better. Not that 50-50 was not okay, but no other percentages would be. I was never convinced, so I didn't vote for that, but the board voted for that.
but what
So-
percentage would you have, not you personally, just generally speaking, what percentage would we have a problem with? If someone wanted to come build a 4-story building, and it's all residential, are we gonna have a problem with that if it just has a cafe in the first floor? I would say, I think we would probably still welcome it.
Now we have a 35-foot rule, sorry.
Well, you can do 3-story,
You could get
Well,
variance
you
for
get
that.
3-story. Because we're saying, if you read it again, it says residential dwellings included single family attached, or multifamily units are permitted with a maximum density of 6 units per acre. Residential units can be located above non-residential uses.
Okay.
So we're allowing it, we're just not restricting it.
Right, and the question is, we're going from requiring 50-50, which I understand we're not gonna go with that. And I don't keep bringing it up because I wanna change you guys' mind, because I know I'm not gonna change you guys' mind, so I'm not doing that. But I'm saying, we're going from a 50-50 residential commercial requirement to no requirement at all. And if we go to no requirement at all, in the future, we will not be able to think, man, I wish we had at least required some residential downtown. We're not seeing any residential downtown. That's what I'm saying. So is there like an interim? When you make,
I think the difference, if you were like, as you talked about the downtown Jackson, which is a huge area. Your downtown is what, about $4, $3? It's very small.
Yeah,
And,
less than
and
30%
and right behind it, you've got residential. You've got residential all around your commercial. So you have that mixed use.
Well, let's just, I'm not disagreeing.
Right,
Let's
yeah, I'm
describe it
just-
a different way. So,
Okay, I'm sorry.
in a lot of places where you have high intensity commercial, and then you have lower intensity like retail. Generally speaking, you don't wanna have that high intensity, for example, like a automotive store, right back up to residential. So from a planning standpoint, you try to put mixed use in between, you try to break up those two
right,
things being near each other.
transition.
And I think what Janice is trying to say is we don't really have that here, because we don't have we're gonna have a high intensity commercial corridor backed up to residential. So, I
Well,
guess,
there's nothing to be said about raising a building and building something else up. So what we see today is not necessarily what we're gonna see tomorrow. I just was in another town where places are not even put on the market for the number of bedrooms the current home has. It's the size of the lot, because the current home is gonna be raised and something new is gonna be built. I'm not interested in that personally, but what I do know is we need to think about those potential scenarios. And my question, I'm not disagreeing with this, you don't have to explain I'm asking, is there a stair step between a 50-50 requirement and no requirement at all? I see them, there's a spectrum, but is it reasonable, and is it something that you guys want to even consider? Or, as a board, is our board satisfied with removing any residential requirements from downtown? Because basically that's what it says, you can have it, we're not gonna say you can't, which is good, we may want that, I don't know, but we're removing any so as a board, are we satisfied with that?
Well, let me
Okay,
throw out
then
one
for the
other
moment I'll be quiet. Pardon me?
just one other thing to think about. We've had the 50-50 mixed use on our books for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
No one's taken advantage of it. So people just rezone to something else.
Yeah, yeah, so I was wondering about that, so why not keep it on there?
Because it's a disincentive, it's a disincentive. And in those cities that you said they're raising and doing new buildings and
They're just
That-
gonna rezone.
that's in a community that they have a lot of vacant structures. When you have vibrant downtown like you have, that businesses are staying, I mean, you know, there's no reason, that is promoting people knock it down and rebuild something else. And I don't think that's we're lucky that you have this downtown as it is now.
Oh, we know that, and I thank you. for
Well, yeah, I mean,
saying-
I'm being honest, and those kind of incentives and things like that are trying to get people in areas where they've got vacant properties to get them something going, is the best way of saying it. You know,
So,
you should be proud of what you got.
I'm satisfied with where we are, I thank you for answering my questions.
No problem.
I do, please expect, so it's gonna be pretty straightforward, so I'm gonna make those changes, I may not PDF it, I may not just do a handwritten and send it in, I may do it, using the Word document, which I don't think I have, I think I have a PDF.
It's kind of intentional, so that we didn't lose track, we were trying to control the
Right,
changes to the
right,
Word
right.
document.
Right,
That's why, Madam Chair, I
I'll
would
do
just
that.
recommend you just give us the number,
Uh-huh.
and we'll know, or we can decide
Okay,
as a staff, is that referring to the city, or is that referring to another agency, so we can
And
make
if
it.
it does, you can identify the other agency.
Right.
Good, I appreciate that, and, I am cognizant of the time, and I appreciate.
You did fine.
Madam Chair, may I make a recommendation? Dr. Zeser, you gave us a lot of some specific comments, and we gave you a broad answer that levels of service are maintained. And some of these were spread out over multiple emails. I would hate delays, even though I would love to go home and go to bed, trust me.
Trust me.
I'm with you. I want to make sure that we use this opportunity while everybody's together to address, if you wanted to hit some of those specifics, because I don't want you to feel like it has been incorporated or it has not, but this is the right time for us to talk about it. I've got those printouts if you want them, because I know you may have not brought them with you.
So,
I think that's a great idea.
So this guy here has a lot of experience dealing with people called staff. And when the staff says, hey, we can do X, Y, Z, I'm very confident in the ability of my staff to carry out their X, Y, Z with minimal direction. Knowing that when they're done with X, Y, Z, it's a rough draft, and I have the opportunity to go back over it. So to answer your question more direct, I was only very specific with land use, and the subsequent sections after that was very broad brushed on purpose. Just to back up that, you answered the land use. I'm very happy with the city as facilitator and the fact that we have more than enough sewage capacity to handle us in Green Cove Springs and Palatka and everybody in between. Yes, I was being facetious. And the fact that we have Clay Electric right down the street that could also expand almost at a moment's notice should they be required. I'm very confident in our flexibility to move forward with whatever plan we may have in the next 7 years, and with your answer.
Thank you, sir.
Anytime.
Did not want you feeling disenfranchised, sir.
Oh, don't worry, I am not shy. Does the two on the end have any comments or anything they wish to make?
Not at this time.
Man, this is your opportunity to shine. Okay.
I appreciate the hard work that city staff have done to go through this plan.
Yeah.
So you're sitting down, that's fine. Has the member of council and mayor had a chance to speak yet? And do they wish to speak?
She hasn't spoken yet.
No, I've been kind of quiet.
You don't need to speak, but I just give you the opportunity.
Yeah, so sitting here and y'all were talking about the statement shall versus will. So in comprehensive plans, and this is just Google, shall denotes a mandatory requirement of obligation, whereas will is often used to describe intent,
Right,
okay? That's just in comp plans. That's just a real simple description, and they're used interchangeably, I think, throughout, like what you said.
And that's where I said, I think I'd have
Can't-
to read it in the context of the
Yeah.
sentence to know.
You just have to be careful not to get too much in the weeds, because it can go make you crazy.
it will make it crazy, and I'm very happy with staying at about the 800-foot level.
Well, unfortunately,
Her job is the in the weeds part.
yeah, and in the end, the details do matter. And this is the city plan, the comprehensive plan that's gonna be coming out now from this group plus the remaining, city council people, so.
Just keep in mind, whatever we do here, it goes there, they pen it, it comes here, and we can review it. Just because it goes there after this point is not a done
Well,
deal.
I'm quite satisfied with where we are. I, really appreciate, the time, the man hours and woman hours. that we
This
just
sounds
put in.
like a nice way to, I was wondering how we were gonna go through the body, and I think this might work for everyone. Yes,
Go through the what?
the body. What we just did is went through parts of the body. I was wondering how we were gonna do it, and I think this was very effective. Do you not agree?
Well, I understand much of that which I did not understand
You do
before.
great.
And I think that was very indicative. So, do we have any action? What are you pointing at?
Well, I'm gonna see, offer Brendan, okay?
Action items? Do you wanna pick up from here?
Action item, the action items, I'm thinking about asking if the city is done with their side, and if they are, we can make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
I would just say, just a reminder with other, obviously the changes that we talked about will get implemented. For the next meeting, and I should have figured this out before, but I think we're
First
looking
baby
at.
of the comments,
uh,
and the maps and the water. system.
Yeah, so for the next meeting, it's any of these changes that we talked about applying, just double checking those. Janice is working, getting all the maps, and then the water supply plan, will be what we'll be reviewing for the next
I believe
meeting.
it's also section 6 through 9, right?
Well, I think, that was, actually, I'm glad you clarified, because I'm not sure, on this side of the table, did you have any additional comments for anywhere in the entire plan? And then, Dr. Zizer, I think if you've got comments in that second
I haven't even
segment,
started, I was busy.
if you would just, Janice, what was the day we decided the first of
I think we said next,
May, I think is what we
yeah,
talked
the
about.
first of May, which
Okay.
gives you the rest of this week and all of next week.
If I, one way or another, I will get back with every staff involved, whether I have something or not.
Okay.
That way then you will have a definitive yes, or no. Right?
That would be, that gives us time to look at it. Janice will not be available at the next meeting. I'm pretty confident in the other stuff is not too challenging.
No,
But
yeah.
if you do give us some stuff, we can still have a conversation and
Yeah,
try and get it
public,
resolved.
public education, I could really care less about that. It's
That
just rubber
we-
stamp it, send it over.
Yeah, so it's on the record. What, we mentioned that earlier in the meeting,
Uh-huh.
that is the same element that Clay County, Orange Park, and Green Cove Springs you have, and we don't change it. So,
What I am interested in is, capital improvement and, our capital improvement fund. That was the one I was gonna look at next.
Okay, great.
And so the next meeting will be the 18th of May.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Bell, you got anything? You're here every day. I have to give you at least the opportunity.
I would just ask if you still accepted comments in writing for what you went over tonight.
No.
Yeah. So I've got a couple, but I won't go through them.
Okay. Does the city have anything?
Yes, sir.
The board will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.